Ladies and gentlemen, this is an exciting time. We have the Day 2 breakdown about to go down right here from the Extreme Euro Open from 2022. This is another day. I shot a little bit better towards the end of Day 2 in this match. I was starting to be a little bit more comfortable and kind of find my groove. And more importantly, I had at this point, a really good night's sleep under my belt, so I felt a lot better physically. But there's still a lot of problems, and we're going to talk about them and see what we can do better in the future here. So that wasn't too badly executed. The only thing that really jumps out when you watch this is the gun comes out. There's a really pronounced pause before I actually start shooting. And you can see, right, like the gun comes to eye line, and then I dig into it a little bit before I start shooting, which is really indicative that I'm not comfortable with how my grip pressure is stacked on the gun. Most likely that I'm pushing into the gun really hard with my firing hand, which is a really big problem. Through this part is all pretty much fine. Aiming really carefully at these partials in this position. And then you can see from this point the strategy. There's a little bit of discussion about how to do this part because there's one of these like wacky like bobbers that comes out at a weird angle over here. So there's activator, double stack target, another open target here. So you can see I chose to get this reload done, or not the reload, I'm sorry. I do this transition as I set my feet up into this position this way. Right, so that I'm squared up in order to have easy access from basically this stack all the way over to this target. And I'm going to have to shoot the swinger at a little bit of an odd angle. So I hit the popper first, double it down, shoot the open target, and you can see I'm on a little awkward angle there for the activator, and then shoot that stack. But that was the way that it seemed easiest to have access to all those targets just based on how you set your body up so that you could actually see everything. Overall, except for the firing hand tension, yeah, overall that was pretty much a fine run. Right here, the only thing I would say that was kind of problematic was, obviously you see it's a 100% run, so it was a very, very good run, and the points were really good. The only thing that happened was back here in this corner, you can't really see it, but this plate back here was right behind this tire. It was very hard to see because it was in the shade, and you can see where I'm standing, my fiber's in direct sunlight. I really did not see what I needed to on that plate at all, and you can see I kind of take a shot at it right here. And there's this moment where I like sort of watch for effect because I did not see where the shot went. I kind of hit it by luck, and you can tell just based on my body language, I kind of I'm like, oh yeah, I hit it, and then I throw the gun back over at the last target. So that's not like a crazy big deal. I mean, stuff like that happens, but you obviously want to be like totally in control and just following the visualization, never like kind of lucking out. This next stage, I'm going to cut through the third person because it's easier to tell what's going on when you watch the first. This was a really problematic stage, and we'll talk about why once we play it through here. So pretty easy to see some of the things that went wrong there. You could even tell by the gasp of exasperation right before I went to that last position. So right now, sitting here, you can see what's going on for the most part, right? I'm supposed to hit activator, paper, this slide out, open target, stack target, and then another open paper that's off screen right to the right over here. Which, if you do the counting, right, you can see that's, I believe, 15 rounds, and so you need every single round to count. The very first shot goes right over the top of this plate, so I came back to it and picked it up, and right there I know I'm going to have to probably pull some kind of rabbit out of my hat or at least shoot perfectly cleanly. And then the second shot on that slide out job right there went right over the top, so I know at this point I got to bust some kind of a move. You see too, watch how the gun is behaving right here. Like my grip pressure is obviously changing a little bit. Where especially when I'm shooting this guy, watch how much the sight dances up and to the right there. Like, and it's just like you see the sight is doing this job where it's coming back down. Play this forward again. Right, see how much wobbling around that's doing. That's not normal, right? If I watch how my gun performance doing doubles, like when I'm comfortable, it's that big jump up to the left there. That's all firing hand tension is getting in the way. And then the real big issue is that right here, the gun goes to empty a shot early. If you count it up, I should have been able to shoot one shot on this target here and then throw reload, which so while it happened in a convenient location, it indicates that my gun did not have the proper number of rounds in it, which I don't understand still to this point how that happened. But anyway, I shoot this guy, come back up. I intended to reload in this space right here. As you can see, there's nothing to do. I was going to stick to the back side of this area to free up this target right here really easy. But that didn't really happen either. So I shoot this guy a little bit late. I should throw the gun over at this target, right? And I really am just not seeing what I need to spot-wise. So I'm not really sure what the hits are. You can see I'm really dwelling on that target for a second. And then I've covered much too much ground downrange this way. So this target that's right here is already starting to close up. So I do a little pause here. Kind of basically shoot these stop where I tended to shoot them walking around that corner. And then you hear exasperated sighs. This whole stage is just a complete mess. And the final and most costly error of this whole thing happens right here, where the gun is at slide lock for that last shot. Because of the fact I was a round short out of my first mag, if I had run to empty on that target, that last target in the first array, I would have shot one shot on it, reload, shoot another shot on it, and that round would have been back in my gun. But because of the fact I did not do a second reload, I thought I was good to go. I ended up a round short, and I was already in a little bit of an uncomfortable position, so I just sort of sucked the gun back to do a reload and just decided against it. And there's the look to the sky. Why? So that was a really messy stage, and a huge part of the issue of this is, again, I'm just, at this point in the match, I'm not used to dealing with the very short visualization periods you're given in IPSC. I didn't talk about this a lot in the last video, but you only get the 5 minutes during the actual walkthrough. And so, to whatever extent possible, you can look into the bay from the back and like watch other people shoot and see what's going on. But you don't get the real feel, the first person's perspective of like where all the targets are in space and like how to visualize them properly. You can get an idea what the plan is, but you don't get what anyone would call a visualization. So in a lot of cases, right, I don't have the confidence, especially going into the later part of these stages, these longer stages, going into the deep into the stage, I'm just not having an easy time remembering the plan. And that you're going to see that again happen on this next stage. This is the very next stage. These two stages, number 15 and 16, were the biggest stages of the day. And I had issues in sort of similar fashions on both of them. Alright, so that didn't look terrible when you just watch it, but there's some real issues at play here. Going through this whole first array is fine. You can see I'm confirming quite a bit because I don't want to throw away any more easy points, even though you can see the raw points there are not amazing. Shoot through these two guys. It's not terribly dissatisfied with how that all went, except for the loose points. Shooting at some really tight partials right here as I set up. Then you're working into shoot in this position where I'm at right here. There's an open paper or like an easy partial, and then a steal over here. So hit all that stuff, throw a reload out of this position. Right, I come into here, and there's that miss, as you can see on the scoreboard there, is right on this target right here. And if you watch how the gun behaves, there's really not much to explain why that happened. Like, both shots look perfectly true. So, and honestly, when it happened, when I shot the target, I didn't notice anything that looked weird. So the only thing I can chalk it up to is it looks like my eyes are not really on my gun, focusing on this reload, and you can see this reload is bobbling around a little bit, right? And I just don't think I did a good enough job of actually bringing my eye to the exact spot I wanted to hit on this target. And that's the only thing I can chalk up as far as what caused this mystery miss. Because it was like there's no question it was a miss. I mean, it was on the target, like the hit was like right here. I could actually get my tool away. It was like low on the target, like off to the side. Like I certainly didn't like aim two shots at that spot. And then you can see again, right, the lack of confidence in the visualization. I engage this popper, and then you can see you can see the slider through this wall very easily. And I transition to that, and I'm like, wait, that's not what I'm supposed to do. And then I was going to go over and shoot this close guy off to the side over here, then this far guy, then the slider. And because I just sort of looked to the wrong spot. Then I, again, just shot in the wrong order. So I shot far, close, and then it was a little bit rushed in this partial. Fortunately, they were both on there, and they're actually both A's. I had enough time to shoot at it, but still just wildly out of order and not at all complying with the visualization in these longer stages, which is a big issue. Again, I'll cut to the first person on this one. If you look at the scoreboard there, you can see the story, right? I think my time was within like 3/4 of a second of the top time, but of course the European IPSC shooters, they're used to locking down incredible points in the correct time, right? Where I'm just not being disciplined enough. So 5 Charlie completely buried this run. I'll cut ahead of the first person view. All right. And again, you see that firing hand tension at the end there where the gun comes in and I'm waiting so long to shoot. You can see, like, if you play this forward like as slow as possible, right? Watch how the whole sight twitches to the side. My whole firing hand is clamping up. Like, oh, just shoot it already. All right, so play-by-play on the actual details except for the points here. In this position right here, you have to get your feet bladed off this direction with your foot, like your right foot, like right exactly there, so that you can actually get access to this popper in the back. Do that part fine, of course. These crooked targets here, I'm pretty sure I double Charlied that target just because they're so hard to pick a spot on. A lot of refining there. I have to take a big step to the left to open up that partial so that I can shoot swinger, and then partial. And then, the end like we talked about. So this next stage, I'll just play it, and then we'll talk about it.
Are you ready? Stand by.
So I think what happened is right here, I missed this reload, like on, if you can envision it, on like if this is my magwell, right, and this is facing forward. I think I missed it like on the back edge of the magwell, and that caused the round on top to sort of slip out. So then right there, you can see right there, the mag is way back on the back edge of the gun. I finally get it in, and then it doesn't seat, I think because there's a bullet loose inside the magwell right there. So you can see I go to regrip the gun, like after my hand slips off, I'm like, that didn't feel right. So I go to reinsert it, and I have to fiddle around with it for quite a bit of time. You see I pull it completely out, and then just shake it out and reinsert it. And then from that point, it goes fine. But that was, at least a second and a half to 2 second fumble in the middle of a stage that's only supposed to take 6 or 7 seconds. That absolutely bodies your score. So again, issue just random silly issues that should never happen. This stage was a super good performance. So the only thing about this run that wasn't what I would consider good, this whole first array is fine. This reload was a little cumbersome right here. You can see right here, like the gun is way sideways in my hand, and I'd have to re-grip it before I present out. So I'm a little bit slow to get shooting here. And then when I come over to this position, when you watch the third person, you can see I'm kind of setting up as I'm shooting this first shot, and then my feet are totally still for the second. But because of that, I think I double Charlied this target, basically straddling either side of the A zone. From that point, the rest of this goes fine. Next one. Another good stage. There's a lot of ways to do this, especially in the activator sequence, so we'll talk about it once we get there. Both of this stage and the prior stage, really, I felt super comfortable with it. Just the way it was laid out, it was a lot more like a USPSA stage where there wasn't a ton of like reversing out of spots and, you know, picking really particular positions. It was kind of obvious like where your body needed to take you, and then I was able to focus on the shooting a little bit more. There's not really a lot of bones to pick with that run, honestly. I mean, that went pretty much perfectly. See, my grip is really bouncing around a lot there. It really looked like it took a little bit of a second. But other than that, right, this whole thing went pretty much perfect. It would have helped if I stood back off of this wall a little bit. As you can see, I have to bring the gun axial here to then transition onto the steel, which takes a fraction of a second, where it could have been like, that could have been a 0.5 transition to that steel instead of like a 0.8 setup. But I mean, we're getting nitpicky there. That's not something I see happening all the time, so I'm not going to be super upset about it. Overall, that was a good run. Okay, next one. So when I actually watched the other guys, we're blessed that the CZ Euro team was right behind us. They were the squad right behind us. So because this stage and the stage in the next pit over are like basically access to the same point, we were pretty much standing around, you know, waiting to shoot the stage while the Euro team shot. And the thing that bodied me was not getting shooting early on this target right here. You see I kind of set up and then I shoot it standing. And then I shot these two targets right here a lot more slow and carefully than the other guys did. So I want to say I was 3/4 of a second slow on this with similar points, and that's, I mean, on a stage that's only supposed to take 5 to 6 seconds. That's a huge, huge amount of time. Overall, that's not a performance I'm like crazy dissatisfied with. It's just you see these smaller, more technically demanding stages like this with relatively lower factors. They're really punishing of small details, and that's why they're honestly so cool. This was stage I won. I kind of got lucky, and we'll explain why. All right, so you see, got a stage with you draw, you burn a couple targets. You got a long run where you got to whack some stuff pretty much out of full tilt on the run, but they're point blank targets. For insurance purposes, you can see I shoot this last target. I'm basically all the way in the position I need to be, and then I choose to reload right there just because there's a lot of shooting in the last position with some risky shots. I come over deep into this position. I chose to start on the plates. There's a little bit of, again, decision making to be had about what array or order to engage this stuff in. I chose to, you know, strangely enough, and not usually advice I recommend, I started on this popper just to get this double swinger job in the back started so it could slow down enough for me to manage it. So it's popper, stack, shoot this open target, and then take a big step over as I engage this guy right here, and then transition over to the swingers. And if you watch this, right, you can see I shoot 4 shots at these two swingers with very minimal exposure, and only 3 of them connected, and it's obvious by watching. I shot the right side only. So if you look at this, you can see it's like there's a big piece of steel like this, and the swingers are basically working like this way, and they're exposed. You know, the one on the left exposes better on this side, and the one on the right on the respective side. But I chose to shoot only from the right window and just shoot every time I saw brown, basically, just to make it easy. And you can see I shot 1 shot there, which connected, a shot there, which connected, a shot there, which I'm not even sure what that was at. The gun is going off right there, and there's nothing there. And then I waited, right? That last shot, I think, was honestly a complete miss. Only shot 4 shots, and I had 2 pocket deltas, like on the left corner of this target right here, and then like an alpha, like I think 2 alpha on the other one. These did overlap a little bit. There was definitely shoot-throughs, and they were just kind of letting that slide. You can see right there when you look at them, they overlap by quite a bit. They were scoring that like as regular hits for everyone. So, I mean, I didn't like feel bad about it or anything, but I definitely kind of lucked out and doubled up with one of those holes and was able to get out of the stage without any penalties, which made it for a good run, but definitely made it out by the skin of my teeth on that one. All right. this has been the day 2 walkthrough. Hopefully this was enjoyable for you. I'm going to cut this together, and I'm going to get it posted up. Later.